welcome to Mr Dilly meets. First up, Bex Hogan. Round of applause. Bex Hogan, give us a wave.
Hello.
We have Mr. Alex T. Smith. Alex T. Smith, and of course, Nadia Shireen, all here again. So give everyone a big wave. And what we're going to do is we're going to just a minute to talk about your book. So, any particular order you'd like to go in? No, not me first. It sets the bar high. Well, Bex, you're kind of next to me on the screen, so we're going to start with you, Bex. Is that all right? So what we'll do, we'll say goodbye to Nadia and Alex for a moment, and then we'll go over to you, Bex. So for now, Alex, goodbye, and Nadia, goodbye. Okay, Bex, how you feeling? Feeling good?
Yeah, I'm ready. I can do this.
You can do this. Okay, so this is Bex's brand new book, Bronte, Tempestra, and the Lightning Steeds. She's got a copy, fantastic. As you can see, there's quite a few pages in this book. And Bex is going to, by magic, distill this down to 1 minute of talking. So what I'm going to do is I'll give you a 3, 2, 1. As soon as it goes to full screen, that's you've started then. And obviously, wherever you are in telling about it, I just have to sort of jump in and stop you. So are you ready for this, Bex?
I'm born ready.
I thought you were. I knew that. Okay, so this is, get ready for this. 3, 2, 1. Bex Hogan with Bronte, Tempestra, and the Lightning Steeds version. 3, 2, 1, and
Okay, so Bronte, Tempestra, and the Lightning Steeds follows the adventures of Bronte Tempestra, who is a princess from the Storm Kingdom. She is a pointless princess because she has 6 older brothers, so the chances of her being on the throne are very slim. But Bronte doesn't care because all Bronte has ever wanted to be is a knight. Unfortunately, the school, Sir Sebastian's School for Squires, has only ever taken boys until now. At last, they're opening the doors to all students, so Bronte is free to set off to try and fulfill her dreams of heroics and honour and chivalry. Unfortunately, when she gets there, she discovers that the other knights don't care so much about that. All they really care about is winning tournaments and looking good while they do it. But there are thunder trolls rampaging towards the school, and there are monster-fied woodland animals terrorising the forest. So somebody's going to have to save the day, and Bronte realises that someone's going to be her. Along the way, she'll meet firecats, battle boars, a pompous griffin lord, bare-bottom gnomes, and zombies. It's funny and feisty, and it's about finding your place in the world and believing in yourself.
Okay. I got the wrong kazoo. This one doesn't work. I blew the wrong kazoo. There we go. Well, that was very, very impressive. I think you should give yourself a round of applause. Let's just give a big round of applause. That was very, very good. That was really, really, very, very good. Okay, so that you've set the bar quite high, though. I mean, I think
I'm sure they'll be fine.
Yeah, I think they're going to be fine. Okay, so Bex, well done. That's brilliant. Okay, so Bex, we'll be speaking to you a bit later on, but for now, we take you out of the thing. We bring on Alex. Okay, Alex, are you ready for this? Thanks, Bex. Thanks for a minute. Thank you. Okay, here we go. So there's that Alex. How you feeling? Good?
Yeah, that's a tough act to follow, but I'll give it a go.
Wasn't it? I thought, the limb bring up. I think that's always a good move. Okay, so like with Bex, Alex, we'll do the 3, 2, 1 full screen, and off you go. And I'll give you a minute, and then I'll blow the right kazoo this time to end it. Okay?
Don't do that. You don't have to blow the right one. I can just carry on.
We just carry on. So this is Alex talking about his brilliant book that we'll talk about obviously more later on. Astrid and the Space Cadets: Attack of the Snailiens, condensed into 1 minute. Okay, Alex. So ready? 3, 2. You can do this. I've got faith in you. 1.
Right, so Astrid and the Space Cadets: Attack of the Snailiens is the first in a new series of highly illustrated, funny books set in space. And our main character is Astrid Atomic, and she lives on Earth. And every night she goes to bed, she says goodnight to her dads. She gets into bed, she waits for the clock to hit midnight, and then she jumps up, whips up of her pajamas. She's got her Space Cadet uniform underneath, jumps into her wardrobe, which is a transporter pod, and she zooms up to space to her spaceship called Stardust to meet her friends Beryl, Zoink, and Professor Quackers, who is a professor and also a duck. And they are set with a task by the chief to solve some problem that's going on in the universe. And in this first book, they're tasked with tidying up the Milky Way, but they get a distress call from a nearby planet, and an alien called Flora Mulch needs their help because her prize-winning Astro Spuds are in danger of being eaten by gigantic, gooey, stinky Snailiens. So Astrid and her team zoom to the planet, and they have to all out.
That was very good. And I was chuckling all the way through that. It was very, very, very good. Beryl's always a good name. It's very good. So Alex, well done for you, sir. Very, very, very good. Okay, fantastic. So again, we'll be chatting to Alex later on, and Alex will be doing a draw along with us all later on as well. So Alex, we'll say goodbye to you. Well done, Alex. Thank you very much. Speak to you later. So now we have, of course, third. It's a difficult position to be in, but we welcome Nadia back. Hello, Nadia. How you feeling?
Hello. I'm stressing out. I'm stressing.
I know. They were good, weren't they?
They were too good.
And they were too good. We've had some authors before whereby you get to do it because it's quite a difficult thing to do as a stream of consciousness, isn't it? And they get to like 20 seconds and I can't remember any more of their story. It kind of
I'm just going to say words. I'm just going to say words.
Random words and see, and it all link together and make sense. So listen, Nadia. Okay, wish you all the best of luck. So this is Nadia with 1 minute to talk about. I've got a weird green screen here. Grimwood, attack of the stink monster. So I'll hand over to you now, Nadia. Okay, best of luck. Here we go.
Okay, so this is the third Grimwood book. If you don't know Grimwood, it's about 2 foxes who live in a city. They are urban foxes and they have to leg it to the countryside. And they think they'll go and live a new life in the countryside that will be peaceful and calm. They're wrong. Because Grimwood, which is in the countryside, is full of really strange, weird, silly animals. I mean, really silly. Anyway, in this book, lots of weird stuff keeps happening. Big Sister Nancy, and that's little brother Ted over there, and that's Willow the bunny. Big Sister Nancy keeps having weird headaches. They go to the doctor's who lives in Twinklenuts to see what's going on. On the way, they spot massive weird footprints, and then they see then they can smell something really strange, and then something bursts out from behind some stinky old tyres. There's a monster in Grimwood. They are terrified and excited. Willow, the bunny, gets a book out from the library all about monster hunting, and she decides she's going to become a monster hunter. Then there's a wedding. Some squirrels get married. It descends into chaos. The mysterious monster eats the buffet. The animals of Grimwood are aghast. What? No!
I know. I would like to have finished it on, and the squirrels get married. I think that would have been a great line to finish it on.
Get married.
I know. That was brilliant. That's brilliant.
Oh,
so listen, Nadia, what we're going to do is it's quite hard. I know, but I've got to tell you, Alex and Bex, everybody watching, they can hear us, but I know they're not on screen. I think for all 3 of you, you're probably the best 3 authors that have done that in a row, I think, on all the shows we've ever done. So, round of applause for all of you. Fantastic. Nadia, we're going to speak to you a bit more detail about Grimwood in just a second, get some questions that have been sent in from the children. Well, I'm going to show you, we've got the trailer for all of the Grimwood books. We're just going to show that, and then we're back with you to talk more about it. Is that okay? So this is the trailer for Grimwood, about 30 seconds long. We're back with Nadia for chat and drawings and readings as well. Here we go.
Do you need a holiday? A break from everyday life? A chance to meet new friends? Well, pack your bags and head on down to Grimwood. It's not your average forest retreat. And while we can't promise your head won't be bitten off by an eagle called Pamela, we can promise fun for all the family. Plan your trip today.
That's brilliant. That's very, 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 very funny. Well done. Congratulations. So listen, Nadia, tell us, I always ask you authors this, and it's always good for the kids to sort of, when you're at school, it doesn't matter what age you're at, primary school, secondary school, you're kind of like looking ahead and you go, what am I going to do in the future, all that kind of sort of stuff. And people can look at like authors or other people they know, or famous people or whatever, and sort of think, how do you possibly get to do that, to do that. So I kind of asked authors what's their sort of here to their journey, because it's always interesting about where they were, where they're at school, whether they're good writers or illustrators or anything else like that, and how did they end up doing what they're doing. Could you give us a sort of in a sort of a nutshell how that kind of journey was for you, roughly, if I hand over to you?
I mean I would say to any young people watching, don't stress. It took me years. It can take time. You're not expected to do it overnight. But at school, I loved drawing stories, writing and drawing stories. I was always doodling, and I love writing just for fun. I mean, it was great when the homework was write a story about whatever, but I used to, as well as that, I would also just write stories for my own enjoyment. And you know what? That I try and hand on to that. I still try and do that now. Lots of people tell you, write a story about this and careful of your spellings and, oh, this is wrong, this is right. You have to kind of ignore them all. And when you're writing a story, just first of all, write it to make yourself laugh or write it to make yourself interested, then you can go back and fix all those other things later. But I still do that now, even when I was writing this book. I just wrote it all down, made myself laugh, made it exciting. Then I went back and kind of corrected all the spellings and stuff. You just have to keep the fun, I think.
That's a really good bit of advice. So whatever it means to you in terms of that.
Yeah.
Does did you sort of go from school, university, whatever, into that, or did you do something else? Or
no, I had loads of weird jobs. I was at school, then I went to university to do law, which is when you become a lawyer, which I didn't want to do. It's kind of boring for me, so I didn't do that. I worked in magazines. I mean, there are still magazines around these days, but there were lots more around when I was younger. So I worked for like pop music magazines and all sorts of different magazines. I did that for about 10 years. I've done all sorts. I've worked in shops, I've worked in factories, but then I always loved doodling, and I just started to do, when you're a grown-up, you can go back to school, you can go back to college and do courses. So I did that when I was quite old. I went back and learned about kind of drawing and children's books and stuff, and then it kind of went from there.
That's amazing. That's always an amazing bit as well. It's, you go to school, leave, and a lot of people go back and do creative writing, or do an illustration course a bit later on after you tried a few other things. So it's always kind of interesting for that. Grimwood, dun 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 dun. Let's hold up again. Grimwood, the third in the Grimwood. That's a book. Attack of the Stink Monster. So this is the third in the book in the series. For those who some of the children watching may have read them and may have already read the third one. But for those who are not sort of familiar, I know you kind of said a bit about it in that just a minute. But where do we find ourselves with the characters in this third one, and how have they moved on since that sort of the first time we met them?
I guess the main characters are the foxes, Ted and Nancy, and so they now live happily in Grimwood. They are settled. They live in an abandoned fox den, and they've got they're like. They've got a new family, kind of, because we don't know where Ted and Nancy's mum and dad are. They're kind of abandoned in the city, so we don't really know. So they've made a new family for themselves in Grimwood with Titus and Frank the Owl and Pamela and Sharon the Party Crow. And we find them just living life quite happily. Nancy has these weird dreams, though, and it's like she hears strange voices in her dreams, and that may be connected to her past. And there is a mystery in Grimwood about what happened to Ted and Nancy's parents, and we do learn a lot more about that in this third book.
So is there plans for another one?
Yes. There's Grimwood 4 is in the works as we speak.
That's amazing. I'm sure a lot of people will be very happy to hear that. The move from, obviously, I think you started, am I right in saying, in basically picture books, and obviously moving into novel. That sort of move, how did that sort of come about, and what sort of challenges did it kind of bring to you going from picture books, apart from the obvious there's less pictures, but I mean picture books into novels? So how did they come about, and what were the sort of challenges that kind of brought for you in that?
It came about because I had the idea about, wouldn't it be funny to, you see foxes wandering around the city, urban foxes. And I used to live in London, and you'd see them like standing by bus stops. And I kept thinking, it'd be so funny to do a story about urban foxes having to be like a proper fox in the countryside again. And it just didn't feel like a picture book would give me enough space to really get all the jokes in I wanted to get in. And I realized it would need to be kind of more of a novel. So it was challenging, but it was also great fun because I could use so many words in my picture books. I'm always trying to cut my words down to make it as simple as possible. But with these books, I can just go to town. I can just stuff loads of extra jokes in, which is what I always want to do.
Which is quite nice. Did you then write too much and then had to bring it down?
Always, again? Then I wrote too much, and then I got told off, and I had to cut more words out.
A couple of things. You're going to be doing a little draw along for us in a moment.
Yes.
I don't know if you have. Is there anything you could read to us of the book? Have you got a little section you could read? Maybe a little.
Yeah, I could definitely read you a little.
Just maybe not long, just to give us maybe a couple of minutes or something. Just give us a little.
Okay. This is this is when Ted and Nancy and Willow are walking to Twinklenuts to see the doctor about Nancy's headaches.
Brilliant stuff. I'll hand over to you for this read, and then we will carry on and go to the draw along after that, if that's okay. Okay, so this is Nadia with a little reading from Grimwood, and I hand over to you now. Okay, here we go.
Ted, Nancy and Willow stomped through Grimwood. Frank glided slightly ahead of them, leading the way. Willow was singing a cheerful song. Whiffly waffly woofly pond, I am singing a silly song. Whiffly waffly woofly hey, I am going to sing all day. Ow! Nancy had thrown a conker at her head. Shut your cake hole, said Nancy. You're giving me earache. Ted looked at Willow and gave his friend's paw a squeeze. Sorry, he whispered. I think she's just a bit nervous about all the bad dreams and headaches and stuff. Willow grizzled and rubbed her adorable nose. Well, I hope that doctor can give her some medicine for being a snotty old grumpy pants, she said. The gang reached the edge of the swamp of despair. It was muddy, smelly, and for years had been almost impossible to cross. But the kindly mayor of Twinklenuts, a squirrel called Krusty McTavish, had tasked the Twinklenuts beavers to build a log bridge over it. Now everybody could skip merrily over the swamp this way and that, which was very useful indeed. Ted sniffed the air. Willow, he said, have you been eating cosmic nobblers? No. Why, have you got some? Asked Willow, peering around for her fave mushroomy snack. No, but I can smell something terrible, said Ted, pinching his nose. I thought it was coming from your bottom. You know what happens when you eat cosmic nobblers. Willow raised her nose to the sky and twitched it a few times. Nah, that's not my brew, she said. Oh, said Ted, you look so cute when you do that twitchy nose thing. Rah! Yelled Willow. She threw herself at Ted and pinned him to the ground. If I've told you once, I've told you a gazillion times. Don't call me cute. Said Ted, which meant sorry, but he had a small angry rabbit on his face, so it was hard to tell. I could smell something weird too, said Nancy, ignoring the furry scrapping going on next to her. And it ain't normal terrible. It's extra terrible. She looked around and noticed something else. Hiya, said a worm. No, not that. Something else. It was a massive footprint.
Dun, dun, dun. That's fabulous. It's very, very. I know this is people have written about this, but it's got that kind of lovely sort of anarchic kind of madness.
It's very, very silly. I warn you now. If you don't like silly things, then don't read it because
it is very silly and it's very,
majorly silly. I'm waddling around now, so I can try this paper in front of the camera. So hopefully you guys can kind of see.
We can sort of see that. If you can move your camera over a tiny little bit to your left, I think. All right. Yeah, that's
there we go.
There we go.
That's better. That's better.
That's good. Okay, so everyone, so get your pen and papers ready. Nadia's going to do. So what are we going to be drawing today? What are you drawing?
Well, if anyone has read the Grimwood books, any of the Grimwood books, you will know that there's a very important woodlouse called Eric Dynamite, and he's like the narrator. So as we're going through the story, Eric pops up now and then to say, what's going on? And this book is ridiculous. So I'm going to draw Eric Dynamite for you because he's quite straightforward to draw. So basically, what you've got to do is draw a line like this because Eric Dynamite wears a hat. He wears a straw boater because he's a very fashionable woodlouse. You know what woodlice are, don't you? There's little bugs that you get underneath rocks sometimes. Well, Eric Dynamite is a woodlouse. He used to be a bus driver, but for some reason he was selected to be the narrator of Grimwood. He still doesn't know why, but it's fine. He does a good job. So this is his hat. Now, this sounds weird. Imagine a baked potato. Are you imagining it? Then you have to draw a baked potato beneath the hat. It's a potato in a hat. Then you do two big circles. Here's one, here's the other. And this is my top tip. If you want your character to look very silly indeed, you put the pupils of the character really close together. The closer together they are, the sillier your character will look. Then you do a U, because he's a very happy guy, Eric Dynamite. Give it a lid, and there we have his mouth. And woodlice have got kind of, it looks like they're wearing suits of armor. I don't know how to draw that, so I just do stripes to make it look like he's got segments. And then woodlice, I had to Google this. Woodlice have got 14 legs. That's a lot of legs. So you have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Make sure you give him one at the bottom so he doesn't fall over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And a couple of antennae. And there we have Eric Dynamite.
Look at that. That is awesome. That's really, really good. That's really lovely. I love that. It is. It's the eyes, isn't it?
It's all about the eye.
Pupils or the eye. I know he hasn't got eyebrows, but they make such a huge difference to the drawing, don't they?
It's all about the eyes. That's my top tip.
That's a top tip. I'll tell you what I do. I know we have got loads of questions for you, but we're going to run out of time to go through all them.
Okay.
I'll throw them to all you at the end. But I'm just going to give you just one question from a school. So here we go. This is from Air Balloon Hill Primary School in Bristol. Who is your favourite character in your books, and who is the easiest character to write? So I guess it's 2 different characters.
That's a fantastic, what
That's
brilliant
a good question, isn't it?
It's hard to have a favourite. I do love Pamela the Eagle, who gets very bad-tempered and bites the heads off some of the other characters now and then. I occasionally, if I'm feeling a bit grumpy, I feel a lot like Pamela. So I love her. She's easy to write because the easiest character to write is a fan favourite, Sharon the Party Crow, because she's just raving all the time. She has party poppers. She'd be after your kazoo like nobody's business.
I know. The one that's working anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you're dressed quite similarly to Sharon the Party Crow because she's always got like a crazy hat on and like
Sharon
party poppers.
We're quite good friends, actually.
Yeah, and her catchphrase is a wooga, and she's just always partying all the time. So she's a lot of fun to write.
That's a great question. Great answer as well. Thanks very much. So Nadia, listen, we're going to say goodbye for now for a while. Thank you very much for your draw along your reading. So Grimwood, of course, Attack of the Sting Monster. The 3rd in the series is out now. 4th in the works already. And Nadia's going to be joining us at the end, where we're going to have a bit of fun and answer a few more of your questions at the end. But for now, Nadia, absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Nadia Shireen, thank you very much, Nadia. Thank you very much. What a brilliant guest. Wonderful, wonderful. So we'll be seeing Nadia again later on. So it's now time to this, because I'll give you the intro, okay? Because Bex Hogan's up next. So here we go. Bronte Tempestra of the Storm Kingdom is taking charge of her own destiny. She will be the first ever princess to become a knight. She must face down pompous griffin lords and bare-bottomed cloud-stealing gnomes. There's a lot of problem for those. Monstrous horrorflies, spooky zombies. The future of the entire kingdom is at stake. Let's meet author of Bronte Tempestra and the Lightning Seeds. Please welcome to Mr Dilly Meets the wonderful Bex Hogan. Hello, Bex. How you doing? Okay, good?
Yeah, I'm good. I've just been having a lot of fun doing my own Eric
You did one
Dynamite.
as well. You said
I
you could
did.
draw. That's really,
I'm
really
doing well.
good.
She's a good teacher. What can I say?
She's a good teacher. It's fantastic. So, Bex, so where's your book here and all this chaos here? So, your wonderful book is out now, Bronte Tempestra and the Lightning Steeds are over here. So before we get into a little bit more about the story of Bronte Tempestra, and we're going to get a reading from you as well, which will be lovely. Bill, I asked Nadia, your sort of reading journey. So I know you've done books that were sort of YA, which is young adult for those who are not familiar with that term, books. And this is, am I right in thinking this is the first in the sort of middle grade books you've written? So tell us a little bit about how that kind of, school, leaving that, getting into YA books, getting into this. I know it's hard to sort of condense all that because there's all sorts of reasons we do these things. But if I hand over to you, give us a sort of a potted version of that, if I'm.
Of course. So very long story short, unlike a lot of other authors, I was not a big reader when I was at school. I don't know if any of you guys out there maybe are reluctant readers or you struggle with it. I still am a really slow reader, and for a long time that kind of put me off books. I certainly would never have thought that I could be an author when I was older. But I've always loved stories, and I'm certain that all of you are story lovers, whether you like stories through books or film or YouTube or video games. And for me, a lot of my sort of development of stories came from play. So I would play with toys or by myself. And even now, I still play with Lego, and I have my little Lego Bronte and I have my little Lego Tonkins. So even if you're not a big reader, that doesn't mean that you might not be a writer yourself one day. And it wasn't until I was much, much older that I had the life experience and the confidence to start to put my stories down on paper, because I didn't really think I was that kind of person. I didn't think that I was good enough to write books, because that was what other clever people did, and I wasn't the best at school. Wasn't awful, but I wasn't the best. And it was about finding the right kind of stories for me and discovering that I could write fantasy books and escape and all the ways that I like to do, rather than sometimes at school you have to read certain books that might not click so much with you.
That's really, really interesting. That's really fun. It's a bit like Nadia in the sense, obviously not the same journey, but in terms of it wasn't like an automatic thing. Like
No.
you leave and like, I'm an author. There's a book. It doesn't work like that. It's kind of, you try, and interesting as you said, you get lots of experience of different other things, and you can then apply that to your writing and kind of sitting down there. And there's always that weird thing when you think, as you said, I'm not good enough. They can do it. I can't do it.
Yeah.
It's interesting the amount of people that say that, have that kind of and then they do it and go, oh, I did it.
I don't think it leaves. I'm 5 books in, and there's still, you get that self-doubt, and oh gosh, can I do this? And yeah, I think that's a lot of creative people, have those insecurities, and we all want to do better, So
well, of course, yeah. And then you think, I got that bit right, but can I do it again? And it's always that.
Yeah.
Weird, that's a weird thing. Tell us a bit more about the character Bronte Tempestra. Tell us a bit more about her as a character, and sort of I suppose your inspirations for that character. And obviously, because this is going to go over a few books. So tell us a bit more about her, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course. So the whole idea for the book came up during the first of the COVID lockdowns, and I was wanting to write something funny, because normally my other books are YA fantasy, and they're quite gritty and dark, which I also love, but I'd wanted to do something a bit sort of silly and fun. And somebody mentioned one day in passing about attending night school, and they were sort of meaning like an evening class, and all I heard was a school for nights. I was like, I have to write that. I am always been a huge fan of like medieval stories, and I love things like King Arthur and sort of TV show Merlin, all this kind of thing. And so it wasn't really hard to want to sort of put together a book about knights and princesses, but I wanted to kind of turn it all on its head a little bit and have the princess being a knight and being at the heart of all the action, because the kind of stories I saw when I was a kid, the princess was the one who was rescued and missed out on all the fun. And I also really wanted to explore starting new school, because that was something that I had done when I was a kid, and I'm sure some of you have done that, and it can be quite a scary thing. And Bronte, although she's quite sure of herself in lots of ways, starting a new school that she doesn't know anybody at, with all the subjects that she's never done before, even though it's her dream, that can be scary. And it can, like, how do you kind of manage your expectations of dream versus reality when you get there? So
you had that sort of, so in order to do this, so this is the, am I right? I might have got this wrong. It's the first of 4 planned books.
That's
is that
right,
correct?
Yeah.
First of 4. So obviously you're creating an entire sort of new world, if you like, for that. When you because this is always an interesting thing of how authors plan these worlds. Obviously, you've got the extremes of something like J.R.R. Tolkien and Lord of the Rings, which is kind of enormous. But how do you sort of go about doing that? And when you sit down to write that first book, do you have the whole 4 books planned about how it's going to end, or is that kind of something that evolves? And how does that kind of link with the world building? I guess I'm trying to ask you what sort of comes first, and how do you start that kind of process in terms of building the worlds for your characters?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could say it was a really neat linear process. I'm kind of a chaotic worker, so things. So obviously, I got the character. Bronte came quite early on. I knew I was going to have it set in a night school. That was the very first thing that came, and then it was all about how can I make this world as silly and ridiculous as humanly possible, and just keep pushing and pushing myself. So when you're doing writing, any of you guys out there who are writing, ask yourself lots and lots of questions. How can I make this sillier? Is this funny enough? How can I go further? Why would this happen? Why would that happen? And then in terms of doing a series, I did want to have an idea of where all the books were going to be, and they all stand on their own 2 feet, but they all kind of fit together too. So you need to have an idea of where's this going to go, where do I want my character to go through one book and then through the next, and you write them quite quickly together so that it doesn't make it too hard from a writing point of view, and it's fun to develop characters over so many books as well. Yeah.
Just on what you just said there, how quickly from when you've obviously you write one, you send it off, it gets that draft gets approved, blah blah blah, it's then in the works to get printed and publication date and stuff. Are you then already writing book 2?
Yeah.
So you finish one, once you send it off, that's approved, you're already into book 2 while that's all happening?
So my way of doing it is as soon as I have got the structural edit done. So when you send your first draft off to an editor, then you do a structural edit. And once that's in place and the story itself isn't going to change much, I start drafting the next book to make sure, because my head's in the game, I'm there with my characters, I can get it done more quickly, and then I know it's in place. So at the moment, book 3 is written, but not book 4. But I've got all the notes for where I hope.
I don't think anyone could accuse you of slacking there, Bex. I think you're going to be okay. That's quite amazing. That's amazing.
It's so it's not a hardship.
It's amazing. Okay, listen, you're going to give us a little reading now, a little taster of the book. So if I hand over to you for a little reading and tell us a little bit about the context of where this occurs in the story, and then so this is reading for Bex of Bronte, Tempestra, and the Lightning Steed. So I hand over to you, Bex. Here we go.
Okay, so I'm going to read you a little bit set in the school when Bronte has started, and she's at her first weapons class. She's struggling to settle in a little bit. She's struggling to find her feet, but she's excited for her weapons class because that's like kind of a really nighty thing, and she's excited to see what it's going to be like. It's being taken by a teacher called Sir Roland Ripple, who is a bit of a show-off, and it starts with him introducing the lesson to his class. May I present to you my gauntlet run? And he pulled a cord on the curtain behind him, revealing an alarming obstacle course on a wooden platform. With a gleeful grin, he pushed a big lever that turned a set of cogs, and the obstacles started to move, fast and furiously. Bronte's eyes widened in horror. Oh, great, she thought to herself. Today's the day I die. At that moment, Sir Caliphus appeared at the door. Lady Fennel, a word? Of course, she said, before looking sternly at Sir Ripple. Don't start without me, understood? She left without waiting for a reply, but clearly Sir Ripple wasn't listening. Right, everyone, watch carefully, he said. He climbed the steps and cracked his knuckles. I shall show you how to stay alive. With a narrowing of his eyes, he sprinted towards the first obstacle, a swinging mace. Timing it perfectly, he dashed past without getting thwacked aside. He struck a dramatic pose before rolling underneath a clump of hanging spearheads, their points gleaming cruelly. Next up, a row of 3 axe heads swinging haphazardly. Sir Ripple spun and twisted through the gaps with ease like a ballet dancer. Then he leaped onto the hanging rope above a carpet of blades and swung until he had enough momentum to land cat-like beyond them. Pausing only to flash the students a wide grin, he ran past the final obstacle of twin warhammers, which were bashing inwards, so that if he wasn't fast enough, he'd be squished flat. But once again, Sir Ripple made it through unharmed, leaping off the stage and taking a bow to the students' begrudging applause. Nothing to it, he declared, as if he hadn't just done the scariest thing Bronte had ever seen. Right, who wants to go first? He was kidding, right? Nobody? Sir Ripple sounded disappointed. Ladies first, Lance said, giving Bronte an evil smile. Bronte flashed Lance a vicious look. Ah, yes, Tempestra, come on up. Bronte looked frantically at Tonkins, who seemed as panicked as she was. Sir, didn't Lady Fennel say we should wait? Tonkins tried desperately to help his friend. Tish tosh, Sir Ripple boomed. Fear not, Tempestra, you know what to do, he said. Excuse me? Bronte said, confused. Well, you saw me do it. Just copy what I did. That was it? He wanted her to face this lethal death run with no more instruction than that? Sir, I really think... But Bronte was interrupted by Sir Ripple's determined shove. Timing is everything. Now, go! He shouted.
Brilliant. Well done, well done. Also, I like the Tish Tosh. Haven't had that for a long time. That's great to have that in Tish Tosh. We should bring those old phrases back. They're brilliant, brilliant. So, Bex, we have a couple of quick questions. If you can sort of answer them as quick as you can, because a couple of them are directly for you. So this is from Asha, who's a homeschool pupil, 10 from Sheffield. Bex, what was your biggest inspiration in your writing journey? So it says what, but I guess that could be who. Any particular thing that kind of... Yeah,
definitely who. I think my mum. So my mum was a person who really introduced me to stories, to books. She read Grimm's fairy tales to me when I was young, not the nice sweet versions, but the dark, nasty ones. And she's just always encouraged me in whatever I do to keep being true to myself and to be brave and to go for things.
That's wonderful. It's amazing what one person can do, whether it's friends or family, whatever, to sort of do that, isn't it? Another quick one. This is from Kelty Primary School in Fife. What do you do to make your characters relatable? Just quite an interesting one.
it is a really good question. So I just try and remember how things felt for me, and still do. I still get really scared about lots of things in life, and I've also got young daughter as well, and young nieces and nephews, and I try and think, what would they think, how would they behave, how would they react to situations, what would make them laugh, what would they find funny and interesting, and just kind of keep young people at the center of everything I do, really.
That's a good. So I spoke to North the other week, and they said a lot of the characters that they did, good and bad, were sort of parts of themselves that they just explored and kind of made bigger or smaller. You know what I mean? Which is quite an interesting way of going about it. So Bex, we're going to have you on again later on with Alex and Nadia again at the end. But for now, it's been wonderful having you on. Bronte, Tempestra and the Lightning Steeds is available to buy now in all good bookshops in the world and online, of course, as well. So Bex, thank you ever so much, and we'll speak to you a bit later on. So round of applause. It's Bex Hogan. Thank you very much, Bex. Brilliant stuff. So ZANA FRAILLON has a new book out. It's called The Way of Dog over here. Fantastic book. And I'm going to hand over to ZANA now, who's going to explain a bit more about it. It's, by the way, illustrations, always important to name the illustrator, by Sean Buckingham. Beautiful book, beautiful illustrations. So this is Poetry Picks, ZANA FRAILLON. Here we go.
Thanks, Mr Dilly. Hi everyone, my name is ZANA FRAILLON and I'm the author of The Way of Dog. And The Way of Dog is about Scruffety, and it's all told from his point of view. And because he's a dog, he doesn't talk the same way we do. He talks in a kind of a dog rhythm, in the same way that dogs pant and run and walk and scamper after things. And sometimes he doesn't even use human words, but he'll use dog words instead. And Scruffety's had a bit of a tough life. He doesn't have a family, so this story is about him finding a home and the people he meets along the way. I'm going to read 3 parts. The first part is where we meet Scruffety. The second part is where Scruffety comes into the outside world for the first time, because in the beginning he's born inside a barn in a cage, so he doesn't know what's on the outside. And the third part is where Scruffety meets a fox. Okay, here we go. The Way of Dog. Dear Shoelegs, are you coming? Are you? Are you? Then shake wide awake and take my advice. Throw the burrs from your fur and slide on the ice. Come flatfoot follow and paw pad my way, for I have a thing or 4 to say about living this life according to the way of dog. And if you're coming, prick your ears, pause your paws, and listen sharp. Stretch your limbs, swell your lungs with every howl, every sgrowl with a full-blown row. For this story is loud. It's made to be growled, to be bellowed and roared, to be freed from your jaws, to travel wind wide and find those ears and souls all waiting. So come scramper, come trample, come schnuffle about. Come discover this world from a dog's point of snout. Are you coming? Are you? Are you? The next part is called Firsts. Life is so much more in this outside of barn world. There's so much to wide-eye, to schnuffle and sound snatch. I want to catch every moment in my mouth and shake it. All the tingling on my tongue, the bristling in my fur, on my skin is filling me up close to bursting. Is this the way every day is? Just tasting each trace on the wind as it passes, rolling in grasses all full up of flowers, schnuffling the tumbling towers of trees, sound snatching the whispers that call on the breeze, pouncing on creepers that scattle and skittle, bouncing in each and every little puddle again and again and again, chasing the rumblings that roll underground, scampering and spinning around and around with happy. The mama dogs never told of all these wonders. They never told of holding a sausage on my tongue, or how one comes undone with a schnuffle of bone, or the crazy race of glee of a ball thrown just for me, or how a stick makes teeth feel like sunshine. They never said how claws scraping dirt, dark earth and wet mud prickles the blood, buzzes through bones, brain, skin, claw and fur, and I'm sure that to dig is most definitely a way of dog too. I wonder if those mama dogs ever even knew the joy of it. And the last one I'm going to read today is called Big City Fox. There's a bark like a scream in the dark, and it echoes across the river. and a snuffle of fur that tastes of the blurring and stirring of storms and of forests, so soft and so light I think maybe I might have just dreamed it. But there he is, small, scrappy, skinny, patchy, big city fox on the bank of the river in the shadow of not yet morning, his eyes closing soft in a fox kind of greeting. "Hey there, friend. Looks like you're new in town. I bet you must be real hungry. What's your name? Where you from? What's wrong? Don't you know how to speak fox?" Well, that's all from me and Scruffy for today. Thank you all for listening, and back to you, Mr. Dilly.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful book, poetry there. Really a book about love and belonging. And as Zana said there, it's told from the dogs, the animals' point of view. So maybe in your classroom that'll be a good poetry activity to write some poems told from an animal's point of view and trying to figure out the world and who they're with and stuff. And I mentioned the oil illustrations as by Sean Buckingham, and you can sort of see them there. These beautiful sort of illustrations from him that are scattered throughout the book. Really, really beautiful and really highlight the poems of ZANA as well. So do check that out, The Way of Dog by ZANA FRAILLON. Fantastic. It's time to welcome my final guest today. Please put your hands together. Welcome to Mr. Dilly Meets Mr. Alex T. Smith. Alex, sir, how are you?
Hello.
Nice to have you on board. Have you enjoyed the show so far?
It's really good. I also drew Eric Dynamite.
You've got Eric Dynamite as well. That's brilliant. It's wonderful. It must be really fascinating to see how the illustrators draw. Sorry, the internet went funny then. It must be fascinating to see how the illustrators draw, mustn't it? So their sort of way.
Yeah, it's lovely. Yeah, it's really nice to kind of see behind the book. It's always kind of really fun.
Fantastic. So, Alex, as you mentioned earlier with your Just a Minute, and you did very, very well in that, we have Astrid and the Space Cadets, Attack of the Snailiens over here. Before we get into the sort of story a bit more about that, and I know you're going to we've got a draw along from you actually as well. Bit like with Bex and Nadia, you're kind of sort of here to there or there to here kind of journey. Was it similar to Bex and Nadia's, or tell us a little bit about it? I'll hand over to you to tell us.
Yeah, I suppose I've always loved writing and drawing. So in that way, yes, very similar to kind of Nadia and Bex as well. And I always loved books. And I did actually, when I started school, in reception, we were asked what we wanted to do when we grew up. And I said I either wanted to be an astronaut, a chef, a rabbit, because I thought you could do that as a job, or be an author and an illustrator. And actually the first page of my very first exercise book at school says, I like drawing, writing and reading books. So I've always wanted to do it. But I did other things on the way. I was the world's worst waiter. I worked in a big shop, decorating their windows, and I also worked for a theatre company because I almost went to go and do set and costume design. And somehow, when I was about 15, I wasn't very good at sport, and I managed to wangle it with my school. So instead of having to do games afternoons in year 10 and year 11, I went to the local, which is quite a big theatre, and I used to help out in their set and costume department, making costumes and things. So yeah, I've had a bit of a weird route, and then I would
like to just say to you though is just a sort of a bit of camaraderie. I wasn't very good at sport either, and but I never had a school where they let me go and do working at that. That's a very nice school. I would like to have been at that school.
Yeah, I was very lucky.
I know that was very, very, very lucky in that sense. So as I said, we've got a draw along for you and some questions from schools as well. Tell us a little bit about Astrid Atomic. A little bit. I know you obviously mentioned her in your Just a Minute. So tell us a bit about that character. And this is this going to be a trilogy? These books?
It's actually going to be one of four.
One of four. So tell us a bit more about her and where she is in this book. And I don't know if you can give us any clues to where she's going to maybe go to. Maybe you can't. But tell us a little bit about Astrid Atomic. So I'll hand over to Alex now. Tell us a bit more about it.
Okay. So I've written the Claude books, which are about a plump dog and his friend Sir Bobbly Sock who have adventures. And then I've written the Mr Penguin books, which are a sort of pastiche of like a bit of a joke version of Indiana Jones films and detective novels. But I've always wanted to write a space age kind of story. And actually the idea for Astrid came 15 years ago, and I've sort of doodled around with it for that long. And then everything came to the right point, and we created it. So it's so there's little chapter books. They've got lots of illustrations in them, and it's sort of exploring space, but I kind of missed growing up. I never really saw Star Wars. I was more of an Indiana Jones fan. So it's really kind of me making sense of those kind of space adventure stories, but also putting my own little spin on it. So it's got lots of like 1950s feels to it. Like the technology is how people in the 1950s thought space would be. And there's a TV show I liked when I was little called The Jetsons. Yeah. And it merged like the everyday and the futuristic really nicely. And yes, it's like my homage to that.
It does have, I just thought it does have that sort of vibe, actually, doesn't it? The sort of
yeah.
Sort of, can you show, I know you can do a draw along. Can you show us a couple of those illustrations in there?
Yeah, sure can.
Because it's not just like the auto straighten, it's really integrated into the whole of the text, and you've got like some massive double spreads in there. And it's really,
so this is Astrid in her bed.
Yeah.
And she lives in quite an unusual house with her dad's.
Let me go full screen with you, Alex, and you can and then you can see a bit. So show.
So there's Astrid's house at 1969 Rocket Drive, and then there's the dashboard of the spaceship, and there's lots of pictures here and through the text as well. So I'm not showing you.
Do you sometimes do the illustration first, or then think of then it inspires the text, if you know what I mean, or do you is it all text written and then you kind of?
I definitely write the book first and then I draw it. But I do know what the characters are like. So as soon as I think of the characters, I see them in my head and then I draw them and then I write the story. So it's a bit of a mixture. But once I've got the story, that's when I can really get going. But I do lots of exploration before.
Let me give you. I'm going to ask you a quick couple of questions, and then we're going to go. So Alex sent his draw along as a pre-record. So we're going to go to Alex's draw along in a moment. So let me just ask you a couple of questions. Then we'll go to your draw along. And then actually after that, so I remember this time, if you can set your Dilly's Doodles artwork competition, that would be good. And maybe if we have time, a little short reading as well.
Yeah,
we'll do that as well. So let me just go a couple of questions for you. So this is from Brigstock Latham Senior Primary School. Which of Alex's books was his favorite to write and why?
Oh, that's a really hard question.
Yeah.
I think most authors would say that the one that they're working on at that time is probably their favorite because it's the one that's kind of bursting around in your head and that you need to get out on paper. But I work on lots of projects at the same time. So I'm illustrating the second Astrid book at the moment and writing the third one, but I'm also working on other projects. But I've really loved doing these Astrid books. I think there's something very special about an idea that you've had for a long time. So this is 15 years ago I had the first idea for this and actually getting to write it. So I'm really, this is my current favorite.
The current, that's a good. So a couple of quick, and this is a really tough one, and I don't know how you answer this one. It's a good question. Say Catherine Score Twickenham, are books better with pictures or no pictures?
Oh, definitely with pictures. And I think that this is a thing. I think it's crazy that we have children's books and then suddenly there's an age that we get to and everybody decides, oh, we don't need pictures anymore. And I think it's very interesting. I've been reading some books recently that were written a long time ago in the 1930s and things, and they're for adults and they have little pictures through it. And it's so lovely. It's so charming to kind of read through the book and these little pictures are there. We never grow out of pictures because if we did, we wouldn't be adults watching TV and films because that's all pictures and there's stories with pictures. So I think grown-ups books should have pictures in them now. I think
one of the earliest examples for me, and I mentioned this before on a previous show, but I did some work on it a while ago, was Alice in Wonderland, well, Through the Looking Glass, actually. I'm sure some of the children might have seen the pictures. You'll know the cartoon, but look at the pictures in the book. They're so, the illustrations in that, you can't read the book or think of the book without seeing the illustrations.
No.
And it doesn't take you to detract from the text at all. It's just this incredible world that's created with these illustrations. So it is that. Okay, we've got one other question for you. This is from the US of A. That's right.
Oh, wow.
The Costume Academy, Dyersville, Iowa, USA. Will there be another Winston book, they're asking?
Oh, I couldn't possibly say. I can't comment on that at the moment.
Yeah. So we'll leave that one there. Is it sort of...
We'll just have to wait and see what happens. I mean, I can't say yes, but I also can't say no. So
that's kind of like hang in there middle. But thank you for your question all the way.
Yeah, so I can't say.
I can't say. I'm under wraps. So we're going to go to Alex's draw along now. So I hand over to Alex now. Draw along. It's about 6 minutes long, so get the draw along for this. And then Alex is going to set his Dilly's Doodles challenge quickly. We're going to have a very quick reading, and then all the authors are coming on for our last bit today, so we can get this all in on time. So here's over to Alex for his draw along. Here we go. Not that one. This is this draw along.
Thanks, Mr. Dilly. So today I'm going to teach you how to draw Beryl, one of the Space Cadets. So what you need is a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil, and that's it. So let's go. Okay, so we're going to draw Beryl. So Beryl is the tallest of the Space Cadets, and she's bright pink and spotty. And we're going to draw her now. So we've got our piece of paper and our pen or our pencil. So let's start. So to draw Beryl, you need to be able to draw lots and lots of circles, but we'll do them step by step. So let's start. So near the top of the page, I want you to draw almost a whole circle, but not quite. We're going to leave a little gap there, just in the middle. And then we're going to leave a bit of a gap, and then underneath, we're going to draw another circle, but I'll tell you what that is in a minute. So back up here, we're going to draw her, it's sort of like her neck, really. It's very skinny. And it's just 2 lines, and then we're going to draw her shoulders. So we'll draw a curved shape that side and that side, and then we're going to leave a gap, and we're going to draw another almost circle there. That's for her body. Now this is her belt buckle, so inside we're going to draw a little bit of a line there like that, and one underneath here. And then we're going to draw 2 wiggly shapes in the middle. These are the bits that hold her belt together, like so. And then we're going to take a break from drawing circular things. We're going to draw 2 lines across there for her belt. And one there, and one there. And then Beryl wears a sash, so we're going to draw her sash as well, which is 2 diagonal lines, like so. So that's her body done. So let's go back up here. We're going to draw another circle, and that's for her eyeball. I'm going to draw one like that, and then we're going to draw the pupil in the middle, so that's a big black dot there. Now she needs to have some eyelashes. Beryl has 3 eyelashes that go off the side of her face like that, and we're going to draw a little eyebrow up there. She's so surprised her eyebrow has jumped up off the top of her head. So let's draw her hands and her arms. So over this side we're going to draw the rest of her arm. And then Beryl has 6 fingers, so we're going to do 6 wiggly shapes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then a thumb. And join that up to her body. And we'll do the same on this side. So we go down, but we draw the thumb first this time. And then we do her fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And join up her arm there. Now, in the book, she has what's called a wrist bleeper. And it means it's a way that she can communicate with her friends. So we draw 2 lines like that, and draw another circle in the middle. And then we draw almost like a triangle shape. It's got a bit of a curve to it. We draw a line there, and one on the other side. So 2 lines, and a circle, and a funny sort of triangle shape with a line in it. Now we get to draw her legs, and she's got very skinny little legs actually. So we're going to do 2 legs. 2 lines there for one leg, and 2 for that. And then halfway up, I want you to draw a little horizontal line, because that's for her socks. She likes to wear them pulled right up. So we're going to draw her shoes now, and they're quite clumpy shoes. And we're going to start by doing a line and a cross. And then we do a curved line like that to bring them up there. So we'll do that on the other side. So we'll go down and across and round like that, and then we draw a little upside down U shape there for the heel, and a line across to show which part of the shoe is the sole. And then we're going to do her shoelaces done up. So the easiest way to do that is to do 2 love hearts on top like that, and 2 little lines for the laces. So then we go right the way back up here and we're going to draw her mouth. So she looks a bit surprised on the cover, but we're going to draw her looking very smiley. So we're going to draw a baked bean shape like that. That's her lips. And then we're going to draw this exactly the same shape inside, but with a little gap so that we can draw her lips like so. And then we draw her 3 big teeth and they're sort of rounded. So 1, 2, 3 like that. And then very quickly but very carefully we're going to colour in the inside of her mouth so that we can see those nice white shiny teeth super clearly like so. And we're almost done, just a few things to do left. So we've got to draw her badges. So she likes to wear badges, so we're going to draw 1 circular one which is a sort of V shape with a line across it, and then one which is a rainbow shape because she wears a rainbow badge. But you can draw as many or as few badges as you like. And then the last thing we need to do is a little scribble under her feet to show that she's standing on the ground. And then the absolute last thing we have to do is what all artists do when they've created a masterpiece like this. They sign their names to it. So I'm going to put my name here. And you put yours there. Now, that's Beryl finished, but she obviously needs to be coloured in. So with your colouring in felt tips and pencil crayons, you can colour in with spots. But because I don't have them, just to remind you, I'm going to draw lots of circles all over her body. But you do these when you're colouring her in. So she's pink with red spots. So all of these circles need to be red. But you can do as many or as few as you like. And once you've done all of those and she's all coloured in and looking beautiful, then you are completely finished and you can hang this up on your wall. Okay, back to you, Mr Dilly.
That's brilliant, Alex. That's fascinating. That actually, it's wonderful about it is the sort of building up of shapes.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
thinking in terms of shapes, which is quite an interesting way. Well, it is a way of getting into drawing, isn't it? It's just thinking about different shapes and how they form different parts of your body and stuff. And it's absolutely fascinating, brilliant. Thank you so much for that. That's really good. But Alex, I'll hand over to you for a little drawing, sort of a little reading from Astrid, and then we'll be back with all our authors. Over to you, Alex.
Okay, so the Space Cadets have been tasked by the chief, their boss, on tidying up the Milky Way. But when they get there, it's much messier than they think, so they're worried about that. But Professor Quackers has got a surprise in that he's made an invention called the Space Blaster 10,000. So he says that with that, they can shrink the rubbish and get it really small and they'll be all sorted. We'll have that mess cleared up in minutes, hooted Astrid. Well done, Professor Quackers. You're super clever. And she gave her friend a high five. The Space Cadets cheered. Zoink did a somersault. Beryl waggled her bottom. Let's get our space helmets on and go out there and get blasting, said Astrid. Professor Quackers wrinkled his beak. Well, he said nervously, we will be able to shrink all the rubbish, but only when I've got the Shrink Blaster 10,000 working. It's not finished yet. He scratched his helmet thoughtfully. I think maybe I need to re-wangle the splurgle, he said to himself, or maybe re-jostle the mooter. He reached for his toolkit, but just as he picked up his re-wangler, a red light flashed on the spaceship's dashboard. An alarm sounded very loudly. Honk, 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 honk. It made Astrid and the Space Cadets jump. Beryl covered her ears because she didn't like loud noises. A voice crackled through the speaker, but it wasn't the chief. Crackle, crackle. Hello, said the mysterious voice. It's the Space Cadets? Crackle, crackle. Yes, said Astrid politely. This is Astrid Atomic speaking. Oh, good, said the voice. Crackle, crackle. Then it shouted, I need your help. The call was coming from an alien on a planet right over on the other side of the galaxy. Her name was a long list of numbers and shapes and letters, which translated to mean Flora Mulch. And oh boy, was Flora Mulch in a panic. I've got a big problem, cried Flora Mulch. I live on the planet Hortensis. I need you to come here as fast as you can. Zoom left at the 3 moons and turn right at the asteroid shaped like a watering can. And with that, she rang off. and then they get to the planet, and they're very excited to see all these lovely plants that Flora Mulch has grown. But there's been a problem. The plants have been attacked, said Flora Mulch. Her knees were trembling. Zoink, said Zoink, which meant by what? Snailiens, yelped Flora Mulch. Oh, I love Snailiens, Beryl squealed. They're so cute and tiny. Can we keep them as pets? She turned to Astrid and fluttered her eyelashes. No, you don't understand, said Flora Mulch, all of a quiver. These are not ordinary Snailiens. They are enormous. She pulled back some gigantic polka dot leaves and pointed across the planet. Not far away were 5 very large Snailiens, and they were busy chomping through everything in sight. And there they are.
There's the Snailiens. Thank you very much, Alex. Thank you very much. I've got a couple of questions for you all to answer. And then we're going to do a little draw along kind of thing, which should be fun. So it should be fun. So here's a couple of questions. This is I asked this one a lot, and it's from an old show, but it's actually a really good question. So I'll go to you first, Nadia, with this, and then Bex, and then Alex. So here's the question: Penkridge County Middle School, Stafford. If you could be a character in another famous book, who would you be and why? It's amazing, isn't it? That's a good question. So Nadia, any thoughts? What would you be?
Yeah, I'd like to be Sophie from the BFG. Just because I was always fascinated by how she could kind of sit inside the BFG's ear. And I just really wanted to experience that.
Just sitting in an ear.
And just be really nosy, because the BFG, if you've read it, you know that he's the big friendly giant, and he, like, one step is really massive, and he can walk and run so fast. It's like you're flying and you go into different worlds and you travel the world in one night. So I'd love to be warm in the BFG's ear.
That's brilliant, Nadia. Okay, Bex, any thoughts for you? Character on Facebook.
I mean, blimey, there's too much choice. But I mean, my gut reaction, my gut feeling was I would love to be any character really in a Jane Austen novel, Lizzie Bennet or any of them, and be married to somebody with a lot of money and wear beautiful dresses and just sort of wander around beautiful gardens and just be very chilled. That does sound.
And then bump into Nadia in the ear of the BFG. So that's quite good. And Alex, what about yourself?
Oh, I would like to be Eloise from the Eloise books. So they were written in the 1950s, and Eloise is a 6-year-old who lives in the Plaza Hotel in New York. So a very, very big, very posh hotel. And she lives there with her nanny and all of her pets, and she just runs riot. She's got the whole of this huge hotel to play in, and she's always doing something naughty or weird or funny, and she's got a lot of opinions. So
is the Plaza Hotel? I think the Plaza Hotel is the one in the Home Alone 2, isn't it? Isn't the one you to watch that? That's the Plaza, that one.
It is, and there's actually a huge portrait of Eloise there. And when I went to New York, it's the first thing I went to see. And there is now actually a room that you can stop there, which is decorated like her bedroom. So I might do this.
That's amazing.
I think it's really meant for grown-ups. I think it's meant for children. But
so you can sort of go and live out a little bit of that. Anyway, I've got it. It's easier than getting inside an ear, Nadia.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, depends, doesn't it? Okay. So let me ask you. This is quite a big question. It's going to stretch your brain, but you come up. The first thing pops in your head. Just say it, and then we go. Quick answer for all 3 of you. Here we go. So, Manor Oaks Road School, Sheffield. What is your most memorable book from your childhood and why? Nadia, do you got first one that pops in?
Meg and Mog. Any of the Meg and Mog books.
Meg and Mog.
Gobelino, the Witch's Cat.
Gobelino, the Witch's Cat. Alex.
Sophie from The Tiger Who Went to Tea, going for sausage and chips and beans in her pajamas at the end.
That's brilliant. That sounds good to me. Okay, and another quick question, which probably warrants a longer answer, but here we go. Do you have any writing habits or superstitions that you need to have set and ready to write? That's just from me. Any sort of particular superstitions or habits? Nadia,
I have to have a cup of tea. I have to know that there are biscuits in the house.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I think Alex, I just read you, Alex, you might agree with that, because I know it says on your website about the cake and tea.
I always have to have tea. Always have to have like something of nourishing. Well, not very healthy, but yeah, chocolate digested biscuit on hand at all times.
I agree with both of you. And Bex, it's the same sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, a bickie's always good, but for me, it's I have to have some music to listen to. It has to be the right vibe. Has to get me in the mood.
And that really helps. That's really interesting. Really interesting. Fantastic. Okay, now everybody watching. In your classrooms, obviously, you've done a couple of draw-alongs, but now is a little bit of fun. What you need to do is very, very simply is whoever you're sitting next to becomes your drawing partner. So there's going to be obviously just two of you to get into pairs. What you're going to do is a very, very simple thing. You're going to get a blank sheet of paper in front of you with a pen or a pencil, simply like that. And what you're going to do in a moment, we're going to have 30 seconds on my timer here. And this is what you're going to do. You're going to look at your partner's face, okay? And you're going to have your hand with your pen or pencil down on the bit of paper. And as you look at your partner's face, you're just going to draw their face, but you can't look down at what you're drawing, okay? You're going to look straight at their face and you're going to attempt to draw it without looking down at what you're drawing, okay? We have 30 seconds. Now, our authors, illustrators are going to join in at the same time. So what's going to happen is I think we'll do this. We're going to have Alex draw Nadia, Nadia draw Bex, and Bex draw Alex. Does that sound all right? Does that sound kind of doable? So we're going to go 30 seconds on the timer. So to get into your pairs in your classrooms, and remember, you just got help if you're kind of right next to each other and you can see each other's face straight on. And we have 30 seconds. And then at the end of the 30 seconds, we're going to keep our illustrations hidden, and then we're going to do the big reveal for Nadia, Alex, and Bex all at the same time. And you can do the same in your classrooms, which should be quite funny as well. So, Nadia, are you ready? Alex, are you ready?
Yeah.
Bex, are you ready? Okay. Everybody else, if you're watching, are you ready? 30 seconds to get drawing starting now. Here we go.
Oh no, this is already hard.
Yeah, this is already going on.
And we're not allowed to look down. I'm making sure
look
none
down
of you.
the
Oh,
screen.
Alex, look down.
Oh, sorry,
Throw him out.
I didn't
You
see.
can't look down. You can't look
Throw
down.
him
You've got
out.
15 seconds left. Bex is funny.
I'm panicking. Oh, that's.
Oh no.
And-
Oh no.
Oh my goodness! So everybody watching, children watching, you might have actually seen your sketches as you're closer to it, other than obviously our three guests today. But we're going to try to do the big reveal at the same time. So I'll give you a 1, 2, 3, and then hold up the drawings. Okay. So here we go. And in your classrooms, ready? 1, 2, 3. Hold them up.
I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry, Nadia.
Oh,
that's
Alex,
very
I like it.
That's very, very good. That's very, 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 very good. I think that's really good. So you see, we've all got hope. It's all good. Listen, it's been wonderful to have you all on today, and good luck with all your books. And they're wonderful books. So we have Alex, of course, with Astrid and the Space Cadets. We have Bex with the Bronte, Tempestra, and the Lightning Steeds. We have, if I can find your book over here, Nadia with Grimwood, Attack of the Stink Monster, and of course, ZANA with The Way of a Dog. So do get yourselves a copy of those. Thank you very much all for joining me today. Hope you enjoyed yourselves. So give everyone a big wave goodbye. Give each other a big wave goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
Nadia,
Bye, everyone.
thank you so much. Alex, thank you. Bex, thank you very much. Nice to meet you all. So goodbye, Nadia. Thank you. Bye-bye. Goodbye, Alex. Thank you. Goodbye. And goodbye, Bex. Thank you. Goodbye. Weren't they wonderful? Brilliant guests. I hope you enjoyed that. My name is Mr Dilly. Lovely to be with you again. Have a lovely evening. And it's goodbye from me. And it's goodbye from me. Goodbye, my friends. Goodbye. Thank you.